310864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon. Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Swing and a miss. Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Fans being out there making this a great impact.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Hello on a Thursday. It is Duck Insider here in the Country Financial Studio. I am Ryan Milano filling in for Joey Mack today. He is up at Autzen making sure we have a broadcast on Saturday where Oregon goes on the road to play Oregon State in a rivalry matchup that has never been played this early. Yeah, it'll be at 12:30 on Fox, September getting played, Oregon State. I went through and I looked at all of the dates for the previous matchups. There's a few dates that didn't populate, that have been lost in time, but out of every single categorized game that I could find, this appears to be the earliest that Oregon and Oregon State have ever matched up on the football field. You've heard it all week. Coach Michalowski, he's been saying it. It feels like Thanksgiving. We should bring out some turkey. I don't have any, but if anyone wants to bring it in, if any of the interns that are currently in the studio want to bring in some turkey for us tomorrow, it feels like Thanksgiving. It feels like Thanksgiving, and it feels like a rivalry matchup. And these are two teams that know about each other a lot. Things get really heated in the state between Oregon and Oregon State, and the home team has won each of the last four matchups between these two teams. And it is a matchup that is certainly heated. If you didn't hear yesterday on the coaches show, Coach Dan Lannon, quarterback Dylan Gabriel, they broke down the matchup as well as so many other things going through the first 2 weeks of the season, how Dylan's acclimating to Eugene, and some big news on the Dylan Gabriel front as well. Also yesterday, Joey was able to sit down with someone who knows about this matchup very intimately, the voice of the Beavs, Mike Parker, who has seen quite a few of these matchups. And, well, there also might be some history on the line in studio as well. The conversation between Joey Mack and the Beaver perspective, the voice of the Beavs, Mike Parker, here is their conversation breaking down the matchup.
We were just discussing off the air that this is the first time that Mike has ever come on Duck Insider, because normally this is Thanksgiving week. There's a holiday. Sometimes the game was on Friday. Sometimes it was on Saturday. And everything just got so condensed and in some ways rushed. And so now here we are. The voice of the Beavers, Mike Parker, is with us. Mike, it is great to have you at least virtually. I look forward to shaking your hand again on Saturday. How are things, sir, heading into a rivalry weekend?
Joey, I'm glad you gave that explanation and disclaimer about the first time. It's not as though, a couple of things at play here. It's not as though you've invited me in the past and I've said, absolutely not. It's Civil War week. We're not doing that. Enough of that nonsense and tomfoolery. It's just, I think you're right that we've never been able to connect with these short work weeks. I do a local radio show up here in the Mid-Valley. You are working every day on Duck Insider and other things. And it's just on the short week, it's never worked out. So I'm grateful that it has worked out. It's an odd time in life, and I always enjoy hearing you when I listen to to all the great work you do on the Oregon Sports Network, and it's great to be on with you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. I got to tell you that especially when it comes to basketball and baseball, for obvious reasons, I just want to say I've appreciated all the things that I've been able to steal from you over the years when I'm listening to Beaver games, because that's what we do, right? We pick things up that we like.
Absolutely, and that's that's how I think all of us got into this whole crazy profession in the first place, was listening to other people do what they did. And we thought, well, gosh, that sounds like a fun job. That would be fun to do too. So I think we get drawn into the business in the first place by, in a sense, imitating others or wanting to be like others in that respect. So we're always on the, I like that phraseology. Right. I like the way he said that. That's a good call for a foul ball down the left field line, or whatever the case may be. I think we're always on the lookout for different ways to say a lot of the similar things.
Well, and I've often said that it's akin to coaches, right, Mike? Like, they see a scheme or a play or how to attack a hitter that they like, and then, of course, they're going to use that to their advantage too. It's very similar.
Absolutely, and and now that you bring up coaches and so on, it really is it's a fascinating time for this rivalry game to be occurring, with the Trent Bray era just getting underway here. And, Dan Lanning doing such a great job in Eugene. I know that there's a lot of misgivings about the game itself and even playing it. I know from Beaver Nation's perspective, there are some people who called our show this week and said, we're boycotting. We're not even going to watch. We're not even going to listen. We're not even going to go. I mean, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm disappointed to hear that. But the thing about the coaches, to bring it back to sort of your point about we're all sort of in this thing together, I think the coaches are sending good messages for their teams about the importance of the game. Bryce Betcher, I appreciated his passion for the game and calling it his Super Bowl. Trent Bray, Dan Lanning, however they may downplay it publicly in terms of, well, it's just the next game on the schedule. I know, I think we all know that for the coaches, for all of us, broadcasters, players, fans, generations of families, this isn't just another game. It's the biggest game of the year. And I'm glad it's still here for all of us to experience.
Well, same, Mike. And I got to tell you, like we talked before about it, so we have a coach, Brian Michalowski's been saying, it feels like Thanksgiving around here in September, kind of a similar feeling. But, Mike, I am just so glad that the game's on the schedule. There's been a lot of rivalries that are in different conferences that play in September. If you look at the ACC and the SEC, they figured out a way to play those games all throughout the season, it seems like. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some work, but I'm with you, Mike. Let's keep playing it. Let's start there. Let's keep playing it, huh?
Yeah, it's the 128th edition, and it has meant so much for so long. And the fact that, all these stories are being trotted out, it's the first time both teams have been unbeaten playing each other since whenever, because we've never, only 2 games in, both teams are 2-0. To get unbeaten to play each other in late November ain't easy to do. Right. And so, the storylines and all of that are far different. We're not in the same conference anymore. There's still pain and regret in my heart. And I think for a lot of Oregon fans too, even though Oregon has landed in one of the supreme conferences in the land, I still think a lot of fans on both sides of the aisle in this respect are experiencing some angst and disappointment that we're no longer members of the same great conference we were for so long.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that there's so many storylines and narratives, but just to sum it up, at least on my end, Mike, I've heard you say before, at least in some interviews that I've heard you do, that you like the regionality of college sports. I do too. That's what I grew up with. I'm 31 years old, and that's all I've ever known. And as the world has gotten smaller and college sports, college football in particular, is really nationalized, I totally understand where we are and why it's occurred. I also say still back the pack to an extent. You know what I mean?
I totally do. And, the conference was a thing of beauty for so long in terms of the 2 teams in each market, even before it became the Pac-10. I mean, you're 31. Bless your heart. It's good. It's good for you to be 31, Joey. I'm happy for you.
Thanks, Mike.
At 66, I grew up in Pac-8 country. I grew up in Southern California with USC and UCLA, but the Bay Area, the Washington schools, the Oregon schools, there was a great West Coast regionality feel to it. And even in adding in those interlopers, the Arizonas in the 70s, and even the mountain schools later in 2011, I've loved the regionality of it. And I do think that even though we're not in the same conference, to be able to play each other helps keep a measure of that. And I think that's important to college football.
Look, these are two teams that are very familiar with each other. Just because they're not in the same conference anymore doesn't mean that bad blood goes away. You heard Mike Parker allude to Bryce Betcher talk about this game is his Super Bowl. I got to speak with Bryce Betcher. He'll be part of our OSN pregame show on Saturday. He echoed the same sentiment again when I talked to him. This is a big game in particular for the players on both squads from in-state, and even the players that aren't sure know that it means a lot to the fan base and a lot to the community, Oregon versus Oregon State. There's still a lot more to talk about with the voice of the Beavs. We'll get to the part 2 of the conversation with Joey and Mike Parker when we return on Tech Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry.
I can roller skate while walking my dog.
I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studio here on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano filling in on a Thursday for Joey Mack, but yesterday Joey was able to sit down with the voice of the Beavers, Mike Parker, and break down the matchup between Oregon and Oregon State. And Mike Parker also got to introduce himself to Duck fans, and there's a leaderboard in the studio. We'll see if it stays the same after part 2 of this interview. Here's part 2 with Mike Parker and Joey Mack.
Mike, I have to hit pause before we continue talking about this game because you've probably heard me do this on some shows in the past, but we have a tradition. The first time that someone comes on the show, we ask you to tell your 2-minute life story. Now, there's a leaderboard. I think that you're probably particularly equipped for this with your radio knowledge. We kind of have that internal clock and chronometer. Best we've ever had is a minute 59.56. I think that you're going to end up on the leaderboard, Mike. Are you ready?
We'll give it a shot.
All right. 2-minute life story, Mike Parker, go.
Born in Los Angeles, August 3rd, 1958, adopted 3 months later, grew up in Hacienda Heights, California. Didn't know anything about sports until one day at the age of 7, I walked into my friend Stuart Holland's garage, and there was something going on the radio, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't grow up in a sporting household at all, but I was hearing things like, the 1-2 pitch to Ron Fairley, outside, ball 2. 2 balls and 2 strikes, and hey, what does that language even mean? So I said to Mr. Holland, what are you listening to? He looked at me askance, but he said, oh, it's the Dodger game. What are the Dodgers? He was flabbergasted that I didn't know who the Dodgers were. And I finally realized I'm not really asking so much what he's listening to, who. I said, who's talking? And he said, well, that's Vin Scully. And so I rushed home to my dad. Dad, do we have a radio in our house? He said, yes. I was fascinated by what I was hearing coming through the radio, so started listening to Dodger games, Laker games, Ram games on the radio. So I'm an old school radio guy, grew up loving sports on the radio, but my dad took me to a lot of games in the Southland, USC, Laker games, Ram games, Dodger and Angel games. Moved to Oregon, Cottage Grove, Oregon when I was 14, graduated from Cottage Grove High School. It was easy for me to commute for a couple of years back and forth between Cottage Grove and the University of Oregon, where I was able to graduate from the school down the road, as we call it now, and then went to work in broadcasting Eugene Emeralds games, moved to Portland, did Portland Beavers games, worked in sports talk radio in Portland for the decade of the 90s, got the Oregon State job in 99, have been in Corvallis calling Beaver games for the last 26 years, and I'm grateful to be doing it. Have a wife and 2 kids. We live in South Corvallis. The kids are older and out. There's my life story in 2 minutes, I hope.
201.42. Bravo. We have
the internal clock, the quarterback has that clock going on I was hoping, I had no watch or timer in front of me, but you said 2 minutes and I was hoping to hit 2 minutes. So thank you. 201's not too bad.
201.42 puts you in second place all time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's in first? Who got first place?
Dave Butler, a minute 59.56 was the closest we ever had. He is a former Oregon volleyball assistant coach. And then Jackson Shellstad last year did a minute 58 on the nose, minute 58 flat.
Those are impressive. That's good company to be in, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, I'm telling you, two of our interns are in the studio, and they just gave you a roaring round of applause because they've heard me do this so many times. So 201.42, Mike Parker's going on the leaderboard. You know the irony? Somebody with much better handwriting than me, Mike, just rewrote it yesterday. So, Brooke, if you're listening today, I need you to come in and redo the whiteboard. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, that's fun. All right, season so far, Mike, you mentioned off to a 2-0 start. Good thing to be 2-0, right?
Yeah, and that's, I think, as you well know, it's good to be 2-0 and not the other way.
Yeah.
It's been interesting the way teams and programs can feel about being 2-0 or being 1-1 or at worst 0-2. I've seen teams get off to 0-2 starts and actually feel like they're playing decent football and are going to get better and win games. But it's very important for the Beavers to be going into this game at 2-0. And clearly, Oregon, with its high aspirations and a trendy pick in a lot of national circles and conversations, not only to get to the playoff, but to win the playoff, win the whole thing. And the talent level is good enough to do that in the world that Oregon is in. So it's important, I think, and wonderful that both teams are 2-0 in that sense, creating a mid-September matchup that has so much riding on it. For the Beavers, the chance to make a statement on national television, a national audience, about relevancy, about belonging, about still being a viable, and our boss up here, Scott Barnes, says we're a Power 5 school. The Pac-12 for 2 years is going to operate as a 2-team league, but we're still a Power 5 team, and he's got to continue to share that message and show the world and tell the world that Oregon State belongs in the power football conversation. Nothing could go further to underscore that and communicate that than for the Beavers to be a 3-0 football team at the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
And, I think for the Beavers and their chances of staying in a conversation, in that sense, it's probably more vital and important to even, for Oregon, because a loss doesn't necessarily doom Oregon's chances to continue through the Big Ten and get into the 12-team playoff and make noise there. But the Beavers are probably, just to even have a look at all, have to win every game. They got to go 12-0, something they've never done. So to be 2-0 gives you a chance to be 3-0. And the way the Beavers have gotten to 2-0, I think, is kind of what you're getting at. It's had a decent look to it. I think the Beavers feel like they're trending in the right direction.
Well, boy, particularly defensively, Mike. I mean, let's start there. The defense has been rock solid early on.
It has, and better than I thought it might be up front. Now, the opposition that the Beavers have faced have had two different kinds of styles. Idaho State threw it, and San Diego State tried to run it with Marquez Cooper, an outstanding back. In fact, the FBS active leader in rushing yardage, and the Beavers throttled him with the defensive line really playing better than I kind of thought. Now, again, we're talking Idaho State and San Diego State, not a top 10 team in the country and a pick to win the whole thing. So I'm not quite sure how it's all going to translate up front, but I do feel good about the entire defensive look. The secondary, this is going to be a matchup, I think. The secondaries for both teams are very good. Oregon's playing at an extremely high level with a great talent base, but the Beavers have played very well at the back end too. Linebacker play for the Beavers has been solid, excellent tackling, physical play on defense. So I know they haven't faced anything yet quite like what they're up against Saturday at Reser. But again, they're playing confidently, and they're playing at home. They're playing with a sense of mission about who they are and what they are. I expect a fierce physical game from the Beavers defensively. They've shown that through the first 2 weeks and have been, for me, even a little bit better defensively than I thought they might be. Mike
Parker, voice of the Beavers, with us. And maybe that starts at the top, right, Mike? I mean, you talk about Trent Bray, certainly has a background on that side.
Coach Bray, as a player, didn't have all of the physical gifts and tools that a lot of players that Oregon State recruited. When Trent committed to Oregon State, his father was the defensive coordinator for Dennis Erickson and the Beavers in the Fiesta Bowl year and the next couple of years as Trent was coming into the program. But everything about Trent, they said he was tough, he was physical, he was assignment-oriented, attention to detail when he came in as a player out of Pullman High School. And he lived that out as one of the all-time great tacklers at Oregon State, a Fiesta Inside Bowl MVP in the 2004 Inside Bowl game. Just solid and sound. And what he brought to the Beavers when elevated to the defensive coordinator position late in the 2021 season began to transform that defense immediately. And the Beavers have been really good under Trent on defense the last 2 years. They're off to a good start here in his first 2 games as a head coach. And it's because of the attention to detail, the fierceness with which his teams play, the physicality, sound technique, and tackling. Not too many missed assignments. Trent has coached this group up in the manner that he played, and they certainly are reflecting him as a person and as a coach.
I got to give some claps for Mike Parker, which I never thought I'd do this for a Beav, but he graduated from the University of Oregon. Number 2 now, all time on our 2-minute life story leaderboard. Right below Dave Butler, still has the top spot. Jackson Shellstad, he's still on the podium, drops to 3rd. Casey Rogers, Bo Nix, they're also in the mix up there. I think we have to expand to a 5-person leaderboard and keep Bo Nix on that top 5. But there's still a lot more to talk about breaking down this game. Oregon State, 12:30 on Saturday. Fox has the TV call. OSN will have the pregame show, as always, 2 hours before kickoff, starting at 10:30. But there's still a lot more to break down in this matchup from the Duck and the Beavers side as Mike Parker and Joey Mack's conversation continue when we return on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear summer vacay, load up on fun in a new Toyota. Go off-road in the 4Runner, haul it all in the Tundra, play hard in the Tacoma, or take the scenic route in the all-new all-hybrid Camry. Visit Toyota.com for more info. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear summer vacay, load up on fun in a new Toyota. Go off-road in the 4Runner, haul it all in the Tundra, play hard in the Tacoma, or take the scenic route in the all-new all-hybrid Camry. Visit Toyota.com for more info. Toyota, let's go places.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack, Mike Parker. They're having a conversation breaking down the matchup between Oregon and Oregon State going down on Saturday. Part 3 of the conversation between Joey Mack and the voice of the Beavs. Here is part 3 of that conversation.
You and I have such a unique opportunity to get to know so many people throughout the different levels of a program. And you worked with them as a player. You've now worked with them as a coach and a head coach. It just seems like after the turbulence that the offseason was, what a great guy for Corvallis to have as the head coach. Just, I don't know, can you speak to that a little bit?
No doubt, Joey, and thank you for bringing that up. Scott Barnes made a pretty quick move to Trent after the great exodus to East Lansing,
right.
Which the last time, as you recall, we all recall, the last time these two programs met on the field in Eugene at Autzen to end the regular season last year, all of that was out there. The players were aware of through social media and elsewhere that something was a little off in terms of, where was Jonathan, what was going to happen at the end of this game? Was he out the door? And even though he wasn't out the door literally physically, perhaps there was some sense inside of him that he knew he was going to be taking that Michigan State job, and the players knew that. Jonathan knew that the players knew that. So the vibe last year at that time when these two teams met, it wasn't particularly good. And the Beavers had a great year. They were 8-2 and number 10 in the country, playing the Huskies in the monsoon at Reeser, and came up a field goal short. If they make a field goal late, they win. And they go into the rivalry game maybe in a different kind of plays. But then that all it just felt like it all just fell apart after that close loss to the Huskies, the disarray that was kind of going on internally in the program going into the rivalry game in Eugene. But Scott Barnes, I think, made a very quick and decisive move to hire a guy that loves Oregon State, that didn't get on the plane with some of the other coaches to go to East Lansing, even though he was invited to. So I'm going to stay here and stay committed to these guys right now, and became the head coach just a few days after that exodus. And he has been the perfect guy to rally everybody up. He's hired some other guys who are also former Beavers, Keith Hayward, whom you're familiar with, Ryan Gunderson, Kyle Devan. These are important position coaches that are also all former Beavers who love the place, who know the territory, know how to recruit here, develop and build here. So Trent has done an amazing job, not only himself, but in the staff that he's put together.
Yeah, gosh, it does have just a very different feeling this year. There's no doubt about it. A couple final thoughts for Mike Parker, voice of the Beavs, with us. The offense. What's the identity of the offense right now heading into Week 3?
I mentioned Kyle Devan, the new offensive line coach, and he has brought the same kind of Jim Mihalchik was an outstanding offensive line coach, no question about that. One of the best in the country. Jim took off to Michigan State with others. But the hiring of Kyle Devan, Kyle's a former Beaver player himself and has brought the same kind of physicality and attention to detail on the offensive line and assignments, developing a rotation up front. The Beavers have lost Tyler Bolton, who had been a starting guard for the season with an injury, but Flavio Gonzalez has been playing a lot. I know Oregon's been trying different combinations for different reasons, but in that position, as you well know, Joey, to have a lot of guys who are capable of plugging in and playing maybe different positions up front, Kyle Devan's been up to that. So that's where the identity of this team begins for me, even though we've talked a lot about the defense. On offense, it's all about what's happening in the trenches with a physical, well-coached offensive line. And the Beavers, through 2 games, have ridden their run game over and over and over again. And it's been good. It's been really impressive to watch. Now, they're going to clearly need to be able to throw it better, but I thought throw it more often and throw it accurately when they do. But Giovanni McCoy, the transfer from Idaho, took a big step from game 1 to game 2 in terms of the types of throws he was asked to make, showed some real arm strength and accuracy. So I know they're going to have to open it up a little bit more, and probably will, because Oregon won't let the Beavers run in quite the same way as they have against Idaho State and San Diego State. So I'm expecting to see that playbook opened up a little bit more, and the identity won't change. It's a run-first, physical-oriented team that wants to control the ball. 2022, you guys saw late in that rivalry game what the Beavers were able to do with a strong run game to run that thing out and win it, not throwing the ball but one time, I think, in the second half.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have that kind of game this Saturday, but I do expect the Beavers to run it a lot, but throw it better. And when they need to, they're going to have to take some shots against a very good secondary. But I think Giovanni McCoy is growing more into that role.
Yeah, that 2022 game certainly has come up a lot, I can tell you, around here, Mike. All right, I've gone longer than I told you I would, Mike. This has been so much fun. Last one I have for you is just keys to the game. You've touched on a lot of them. Sum it up for fans. Beavers win if what happens coming up Saturday?
If they continue to play clean football in terms of turnover free. Now, Jam Griffin had a lost fumble in the opener, but has been excellent with ball security ever since, as have the Beavers. They've been clean in terms of administrative penalties on the offensive line. So if the Beavers continue to do that, and I don't know if they can average over 5 yards a carry, which they have been through 2 games, but if they're able to steadily stay with the run, move the chains with a lot of run plays, some play action stuff, get the tight ends maybe a little bit more involved. Only 1 reception for a tight end so far this season. It was for a touchdown at San Diego State. So it's a run game first for the Beavers that they have to continue to be able to be productive in. And Giovanni McCoy is going to have to, they've been able to stay out of must-throw 3rd and long situations. They're probably going to get a few of those against Oregon, and they're going to need to convert a few of them here and there. On the other side, the explosive plays and all of the things that Oregon is capable of. I think Chris Peterson said it the other day. He said something's off with the Oregon offense. It's either boom or bust, he said. Well, yeah, but there's enough boom. There are some busts in protection, and the Beavers, if they see one, are going to have to take advantage of that like other teams have. But they've got to not eliminate, but at least keep down the number of those just incredibly big plays. If they can take away some of those explosives that Dylan Gabriel's hit with that great receiving core, tighten some things up on special teams, which I think Oregon has a huge advantage in the return game. There's a lot of if they can do this, if they can do that. But I think this team at Oregon State is so well coached by Trent Bray, by the coordinators, by their position guys, that if they just play, if they approximate and play the way they're capable of through the first 2 games and do that again, with that kind of formula, running the football, being sound on defense, I think they have a chance to get out of there 3-0, which would be the best 3-0 start in some respects in program history.
Sure. Mike Parker, voice of Oregon State. He's got the call on the Beaver Radio Network this weekend. Mike, I thank you so much for taking the time. I really look forward to seeing you at a newly renovated Reeser. I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and this will be the first time that it'll be, for a rivalry game. In 22, it was that kind of, the whole new side was being renovated, so there were no fans on that side. I think what the Beavers have done with Reeser, it's going to be loud and intimate loud. Autzen is one of the toughest places to play in America. There's no doubt about that. But I think the Beavers have made Reeser, where they're 17-2 over the last 19 games, it's a pretty good home field advantage too. So it should be a tremendous atmosphere, Joey. It's really been nice to be on with you, and I look forward to seeing you Saturday in Fort Valley.
Great stuff. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Joey.
That's the conversation between Mike Parker, the voice of the Beavs, and Joey Mack. It's the first time that Oregon's going into the newly renovated Reeser Stadium. How will that play an impact in a matchup where, going up on the road to Corvallis, there's always a rocky environment in a game in which the home team has been the victor the last 4 times. Oregon trying to buck that trend. We're going to hear from some players post-practice earlier this week that we're going to talk about how Oregon plans to do that and what needs to happen for Oregon to have success on Saturday. Jeffrey Bassa, the linebacker, he's coming up when we return on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything, but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Back here in the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Thursday, previewing Saturday's matchup as the Ducks travel north to Corvallis to play against Oregon State. Last night, the uniforms that Oregon is going to wear, the Ducks put them out on social media, and the Ducks continuing to go with the green helmets. It's white jerseys this time, and green pants as well. So the road whites making the trip up north to Corvallis. Bryce Betcher behind the scenes in the photo shoot. And really cool to see the Mashofsky Center all blacked out in those photo shoots. The that's always what I look at when I watch these and I look at the uniform reveals. Yeah, uniforms great. I love to see the uniforms, but I also love to see the creative team get really creative with where they take their photo shoots and how the different scenery around Oregon or the different buildings around Oregon can turn into some really cool places and some really cool locations and backdrops. So that's Bryce Betcher in the new uniforms. That will be debuted on Saturday, the whites with the green hats and bottoms. Part of the linebacker group, Green Dot, the guy who has the communication helmet to headset with Jeffrey Bassa, and a coach on the sidelines, the leader of the defense, breaking down the matchup ahead of Oregon State week. Here is Jeffrey Bassa.
Having played in this rivalry game before, what does this week mean to you personally?
It means the world. It means everything to me. I know it means a lot to the people that, who have come before me, to the university, to the people of Eugene, and to the people to the state of Oregon as well. So, it means the world to me.
What's the message about this rivalry that you try to convey to the new guys, whether it's a freshman or a transfer?
What was that?
What's the message about this rivalry that you convey to the transfers of the new guys?
It's all personal. I know that we have a whole lot of new guys on the team, right? So you just kind of got to relay that message of kind of like what happened 2022, kind of what they think about you, what they think about us, and Atticus is kind of, spreading the word a little bit, but about how they really feel about us, right? Him coming from there. So, yeah, kind of just spreading the word on, letting them know that it's real personal. So.
In the past, when you guys have played, it's always at the end of the year. It's kind of when teams are kind of reaching their peaks. What's it like playing this in week 3 in September?
Yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different ever since I've been here. Like you just said, we've always been playing them, towards the end of the season. But, I think that, it's going to be exciting to play them very early. See the team of North a little bit early. So I'm excited for it.
What do you think of when you think of the 22 game? What's the first thing that pops in your mind about that game?
Yeah, just finish. I think finish was the main part. They beat us in the second half, and they won us, or they beat us in the fourth quarter as well. So yeah, that's the main thing that comes to my mind when I think about that game. So.
Has the offense changed much between the new coach and what they were the last couple of years?
A little bit, yeah. And they got a new OC. Obviously, the head coach was a DC last year, so he's going to bring some translation over from the previous staff. But just a little bit tweaks here and there. Obviously, a team that still prides themselves on running the ball very well, so got to stop the run.
How do you think that playing a guy like Ashton Jeanty last week, who was able to rack up 200 yards, really talented running back, helps prepare you for a team that's going to be so power run focused and power run heavy?
Yeah, I think, just the opportunity that we had to, face a talented running back like Ashton Jeanty was, I think that's, we can go and look at the film and be like, okay, how can we stop the run even better and, learn from that before like later on in the season worrying about that, like, oh, dang, we should have fixed this earlier, right? So now that we have that under our belt, we can go and look at the film and be like, okay, now we can go from learning from stopping or the things that we did bad against Boise State and, just applying that to our game further on out.
Last non-conference game of the season, what kind of opportunity does that give you to get ready for Big Ten play?
Say that again?
It's your last non-conference game. How can you use this game as an opportunity to get ready for Big Ten play in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think every week has just been a great opportunity to get ready for, the conference play, right? And I think this, heading into this last week before, we head into that Big Ten conference play, this week is kind of just, sharpening our sword, right? Every week is going to be a great opportunity to sharpen the sword again and again.
Devin Jackson's played a lot the last 2 weeks. He's looked really good. Where have you seen him just improve? I know he's a guy under your wings and whatnot. Where have you seen him?
It's every day in practice. The energy that he brings in practice, just the way the guy flies around. I know I said this a couple of interviews ago, but from the spring he was a guy who really attacked everything. He wanted to be more vocal. He changed his body, right? And I think that's starting to show up. Like all you guys are starting to see that now. And it's so happy to see his hard work showing off. So.
How do you guys as a defensive group bounce back from Jeanty and Boise State's performance?
Yeah, I think just going to the doctor and looking at the tape and just realizing how we could have tackled better, how we could have, been in better fits, just little things like that. I think that game came down to the fundamentals, right? Well, we didn't tackle to the standard. We didn't, some of the fits were, So some of the fits were a little bit jacked up, right? So we just went back and looked at the tape, and we've been attacking that ever since.
That's Jeffrey Bassa breaking down what's important for the linebackers and the defense to accomplish going into Oregon State to start this season and go through the non-conference undefeated for Oregon. That's what's on the table on Saturday. Some more defensive members breaking it down. Keon Ware-Hudson, someone who has been a part of this matchup for a few years now with this Oregon program. Let's hear from the big guy in the middle, Keon Ware-Hudson.
You're one of the last guys left played in that 20 game. Mm-hmm. What do you remember of that one?
That's like on the tip of my shoulder. We still talk about it to this day as you see all over like the building. With them winning the trenches, it's something that we focus heavily on and try to like after last year like calculate off of it.
What do you think of when you think of the 22 game? What comes to mind for you?
I just think we needed to stop the run. I felt like we got too comfortable and relaxed throughout the fourth quarter and everything. So I feel like once we're at that stage, we need to keep rolling, like not have like a finish mentality and everything.
How do you feel like you guys did against the run as a whole, Keon? Because last week, like about 25 plays, you guys kept the lid on pretty well, and those 4 obviously break. So what is kind of the assessment of how you guys did against the run last week?
Yeah, I feel like we've been doing reprioritizing like every week with the runs. Just minor mess ups like within the calls. One play will not do one of the plays. So just communication throughout the whole line when we be set.
What do you see from their run game? What makes them dynamic in the way that they operate?
Like every year with Oregon State, they're known for running the ball pretty good. They know how to do cutbacks on the stretches and everything. So, we got to be locked into what we got ahead of us. So,
Being one of the older guys, how do you motivate younger guys and freshmen for this rivalry game?
Just like every game, but this game, like you said, the rivalry game, there's a lot of hate between us. Just try to keep their minds level. Try to make them realize like who we're playing against. So.
Is it weird to prepare for that in week 3 versus in November?
Yeah, it is. We got Coach B Mike running around saying it feels like Thanksgiving because every time we play him, it's around this time. So it's a little weird playing them a little early, but got to do what we got to do.
How much, kind of expanding on that, how much different is it when there's only 2 weeks to film to watch on them too?
Not really. I mean, we can still watch from last year. They run some of the similar plays, so add that into this year and capitalize on that.
You've been looking at their whole line. What's you see so far of the impact of with 79, their right guard out for the season? What either 77 brings, or just what that impact might be since he was like 370 pounds. He's the biggest guy that they had.
What was that question you asked?
Just what do you think the impact's going to be to their line of their right guard not being there?
Right. That was one of their key guys, and they need someone like to fill in his shoes. The guy they have now has like 1 start ahead, so I feel like probably the communication or it wouldn't be as strong as it would be like with the guy in previously. So, try to work on that.
What's it like preparing for a game where obviously you play Oregon State a lot, but the personnel is really different. Mm-hmm. The roster's recycled a lot. What's the challenges, especially with only a couple of weeks of games this season?
It's just like every game. You're gonna get different looks and personnels, and usually they're a bigger, heavy personnel team. So, just adjust to whichever team we're playing, and try to add in our front with theirs. So.
The way you guys left the field the last 2 trips up there stick with you, Keon? Because 20 was the parade of cars and after an empty stadium, and I don't know if anything happened to you on the way in 22, but I heard stories about like Jake Shipley getting a beer poured on him on the way off and stuff. So like, anything happened to you, or anything that stick out to you about how you had to leave that building the past couple of trips?
It's rough. I usually try to let all that die down, then walk off. Nothing happened to me personally, but I seen, like the beer on Shipley. I seen people get spit on, so. Try to like stay away from that. So,
it's going to be a raucous environment up in Corvallis. We know that. It always is. Shirley asks on Facebook, where will Oregon enter in? Well, the locker rooms are on the north side of Reeser. They will pull up out of the bus, and they'll walk from the bus to the locker room. So north side of Reeser Stadium is where the team will be when they do arrive. If you as Oregon fans want to help mitigate some of that Corvallis energy, you can be there and help support the team and show that Duck fans, they travel north and make it an in-state battle with some in-state fans battling as well. It's going to be a raucous environment up in Reeser, and there's still much more to talk about with this match between Oregon and Oregon State. More coming on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Here on Duck Insider in the Country Financial Studio, wrapping up a Thursday show. Tomorrow there will be picks. There'll be the whole 9 tomorrow, but we're still previewing this game between Oregon and Oregon State. And one of the offensive linemen, Marcus Harper, always a great time when he gets in front of a microphone. Let's hear from one of the Oregon offensive linemen protecting Dylan Gabriel. Here is Marcus Harper.
Well, you're like the voice of the line. Been facing quite a bit of criticism the first couple of weeks, Marcus. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just getting adjusted to the new offense, obviously. Obviously, we're taking it hard because, that's obviously not our standard, Getting some of the wrinkles out early, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, it's not coming out the way we want it to go, but we do a great job of bouncing back and making sure we clean up the stuff that, needs to be fixed. And so that's what we do. We do it every day in practice. And so once we do that, we'll be good to go. So I don't have I don't lose no confidence in this line. I don't lose no confidence in our quarterback. It actually grows more because we're learning from it. It's a learning experience, And so we just take it on the chin and just keep moving forward.
Do you feel like you guys can afford to keep learning when some of the negative plays and the penalties are happening like this? How much more learning can be done at this level?
I mean, obviously, you go back and look at film, like you said, you don't want to learn. Obviously, you want to learn from as many positives as you can. You want to try to eliminate as many, DBOs as we can. And that's what we continue to do every day in practice, is try to make sure we eliminate as many DBOs, make sure we're playing as clean as possible, so that way it's showing up on Saturday. And like I said, we just continue to go, make sure we're mastering the things that are giving us problems, and we just keep moving forward. So again, like I said, we don't lose no confidence in our line and any of our guys and our quarterback, and we know we're gonna bounce back.
What's the challenge to the interior when you guys change as much as you did this past week, and even as much as you do in practice? On one hand, you could say, well, practice makes, but 11 changes in a game in 57 plays it's a lot more.
I mean, we do it in practice. So I mean, as much as irregular as it is to see something like that happen in practice in a game form, I mean, we kind of stuck to it and just kept trying to figure out what was working for us. And I mean, however long until we figure out what needs to work for us, we'll just continue to do it. And just moving forward, everyone cross trains, so it's not like you get one guy who's foreign to one side and then you get another guy that's going over to the left side. I mean, there was times I was playing right, played left, and then stayed back to right. Same thing with the shot. Poncho did a little bit of mixture of both. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that you got to do. And but we're getting that craft down together, so it's just more. It's beneficial for us to get both looks at both sides, or however many positions we need to play. So it helps with position flex.
Coach has talked a couple times now about those middle 8 moments. How much of an emphasis is that for you guys, and how do you feel like you've been doing with that so far this year?
Yeah, I don't know the specific stats on it, but I remember vividly there was a time in the Boise game we emphasized let's win the middle 8, because that's a chance for, and that was middle 8. You can get a 14-point spread, however many spread differential, and I believe we didn't have the ball coming back out the half, but you can widen the gap of the game if you win the middle 8. And so that's just something we just coach on a lot of the times, and making sure we emphasize it in games, which I think a team does a good job of doing that. Sometimes teams will talk about it, early on in the year, and then they will emphasize it in the moment. But I vividly remember hey, let's win the middle 8, let's win the middle 8. So it's a point of emphasis for us. So.
Is any of this performance anxiety? Are you seeing things in practice from you guys that doesn't translate to Saturdays?
No, not really. We're kind of seeing the same things that we see practice, from a look standpoint. Again, it's just more so about making sure we're playing clean, emphasizes our technique, and just owning the basics, really. And just taking it one play at a time, not trying to do too much at a time.
Have you seen Charlie and Poncho handle rotating center? Obviously not a position that gets rotated a lot.
I mean, they're taking it on the chin. Obviously, they know that there's a lot of things that needs to clean up, but they're both attacking it like champs. No one's really complaining about, why it's happening. They kind of understand the need for, what needs to happen to make sure that, it's either one solid person in there or not. And they just kind of make sure that they're just up on their craft,
First road environment of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, that can cause issues for pre-snap stuff. What's the focus this week? How's that kind of come together? What's your confidence level there?
It's confidence through the roof. We're making sure we get those, try to make sure you get a game look in practice. So we got our sound system up, boom. We got that whatever, the little weed whacker shit or whatever, that little whatever. We got that going on during practice, just to make sure, we kind of try to re-emphasize that environment now, because we know it's going to be like on Saturday. That stadium's going to get loud. It's going to get rowdy. Going to have that, the weed whacker or whatever. We're going to have that going. There we go. That's what it was. We're going to have that chainsaw going. And, just making sure we get that environment now, so that way on Saturday, it's second nature to us.
What stands out to you about the 22 game? What do you remember of that?
Made it worse than the 22 game. It was loud, and the stadium behind us wasn't even finished. You know what I'm saying? And kind of just to go back and look at that game, and we had a big lead going into the 4th game, and then all of a sudden, it just wasn't there anymore. You know what I'm saying? I just see a sea of orange just kind of just coming down. I think the defense was on the field last, and I just see a sea of orange just kind of just pile onto the field, and it was kind of hard just to kind of just sift through that. I think at that point, that's when we kind of eliminated our Pac-12 championship hopes.
That's Marcus Harper talking about going up against Oregon State. It's a big game for everybody. Jerry, Jorgie, Joey, they'll be in for picks tomorrow. See you, everybody.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
My son, Ricky, took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me, and I contemplated suicide. My grandson, I was going to have to be here for him. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because